Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Ryden. Remember that time you and your family drove an hour to the San Francisco airport to fly to Hawaii, and when you got out of the car, both your mom and dad thought that the other one had packed the bags, and your dad drove all the way back to San Jose to get them, and you still made the flight? Oh, wait. No, that was me. That was me and my family when I was a kid. But every family has them, and Marta Smith's family is no exception. Her book is We Lost Mom's Ashes and Messed Up a Few Things Along the Way. Welcome, Marta, from cold Colorado. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, listen, are you guys nuts or just normal?
I think we're more normal than we thought we were. That's the feedback that I've gotten on the book. I thought these stories would just be crazy, but the feedback I've gotten is everybody's got a crazy story,
Yeah,
so I love
exactly.
hearing them.
Well, we can't go on without hearing that story about how you lost the ashes. Give us a Reader's Digest version of that. What happened?
My father was inept. That's what happened.
Oh, okay. End
Yeah,
of
but
story. Okay, well that's
essentially, we cremated my mother. She
uh-huh.
had given us explicit instructions on what to do with the ashes. We were supposed to climb up a mountain across from our home in Evergreen, Colorado. And she wrote it all down. She told us what to do. And my father was not quite prepared to do that, which we respected.
You know,
The problem is he lost her ashes somewhere along the way. He
ow.
moved several times.
Oh,
He lost her ashes. He thought someone stole her ashes.
yeah,
Um,
there's
and when we finally did find them 13 years later, we continued to be inept and messed up dealing with them even after we found them.
Oh, how'd
So
you even find them after 13 years?
they were actually in a box in my dad's garage that he thought held his golf clubs.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, a friend found them. He didn't even find them.
I
I
bet
didn't find
I bet your mom thought that was hilarious.
them. Probably not. My mother was a complete control freak,
Oh,
and she was very explicit about what she wanted to see happen or what she wanted to have happen.
well, see, that's what
And
happens when you plan too much.
yes, she did.
Hmm.
And so part of the book is also explaining why these stories are so funny. And that's because my mother just really probably has sat in heaven this whole time and just shook her head and said, "You guys are goofballs."
Well, from your book, it sounds like, you started out pretty normal family, two siblings, mom and dad, grandparents, but looks, I guess, can be deceiving.
Yes, we are a colorful family.
Colorful,
Um,
that's a good word.
yeah, and we're also very sarcastic.
Mm,
So that's actually, I think, why the stories turned out the way they did,
yeah,
is because we all just looked at each other and shook our heads and said, "You messed that up," or "You messed that up."
yeah.
And again, while I think we had great intentions, it didn't quite work out for my mother the way she intended.
Well, you know what they say about the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But, I grew up with sarcasm as well. My wife did not. And so I had
So,
to realize when I got into my new family situation that, oh, maybe that's not how you do things. Sarcasm, ooh, that can be very, very dangerous. You fancy yourself the family historian. What was it like taking in stories around the kitchen table?
my dad was from such a large family.
Mm,
He was one of 13, and they were a tight-knit group from Nebraska. And we used to sit around my Aunt Kay's table. She was the matriarch of that group. And we would sit around and they would tell these stories that
yeah.
just would make you laugh, make you smile. make you cry,
Yeah.
all of it. And no story was off limits,
Hmm.
which I loved.
Yeah.
And that was really one of my intentions in writing the book, was to help, not help, but let other people think about their own families
Yeah, exactly.
in a slightly different way
Uh-huh.
and reflect on their own experiences with German chocolate cake and porch swings and
Yeah.
just the things that happen as you grow up and are in a tight family.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's got stories. And did you ever bring out the photo albums, spread them out on the table and
Absolutely. And still do. My EK, who is the only remaining member from my parents' generation,
mm,
and she has a trunk, an old Navy trunk, and it is filled to the brim with just glorious photos.
mm.
And it's so fun to just go through and listen to her stories.
I know, and you can't really do that with digital. You can't hold up the
No.
phone and say, "Hey, remember this?" That kind of. It's just something different about it. I've got picture albums here. Unfortunately, a lot of the pictures in the albums are people I have no idea who they are. And now that my mom has died, everybody's going, and I don't know who these people are. But what went into writing this book exactly? Was it just you sitting around remembering, or did you have a lot of input from family members?
Well, my mom died of cancer when she was 59, which is
Oof.
young.
Yeah.
And I was 29 at the time.
Uh-huh.
So I've had years to tell the stories. And every single time I told the story about my mom and losing and then finding and then screwing up again,
Yeah.
um, people would say to me, "You've got to write this down."
Right.
And I was an English teacher. I said, okay, I have some skills at this. So
Mhm.
I sat down and started writing. What I found was that some people in my family are not as easy to make fun of.
Oh.
So I had to be a little gentler in my
Uh-huh.
wording.
Yeah.
Some people, and I will say my dad and my two brothers, really were very easy to be sarcastic about.
Hmm.
And the other thing that happened was I really tapped into my brothers. Both of them are older than me. And I spent a lot of time talking to them, and they remembered things that happened before I was alive,
Hmm.
related to our grandparents on both sides. So it was really fun to talk to them. But I think it was really the trio of us that
Yeah.
really compiled the stories.
It's funny how sometimes the stories change over the years. You embellish them, and I had a reporter friend of mine once tell me, "Hey, some stories are too good to check out." So it's like these are really great stories, and you never stop collecting them. But last
No.
week or two ago, I drove my family down to Disney World, and before we took off, we said, in the course of this next week, things are going to happen and we're going to remember them. These are stories coming up that we're going to tell for years, and so that's always a good idea.
It's my son and his wife just lost a cat
Mm.
that my daughter-in-law had for 18 years.
Oh,
And it's now going to have to be a new chapter in the book. I'm going to have to add it because it's ridiculous and wrong on lots of levels. But yes, I agree with you. The stories just keep on coming.
yeah. How do you advise people, or what advice would you give them for keeping their family histories alive? Taking notes, just keeping in touch with people, or
Well, I think communication is key for
yeah.
sure. I mean, not part of, I think the entire reason that I had these stories in my head is because I really sat down and listened, as
Mhm.
you asked me about at the beginning of this interview. Um, I I'm really a person who loves literature and loves stories and loves writing. So I think every family needs to take the time, pick one person, but take the time to write it down. I think we're in such a digital storm
Yeah.
right now. Just as a culture, I think everyone just needs to pause, take a breath, and write down these glorious stories that have happened, you know, in the distant past, but continue to happen
Hmm.
to us
Oh,
every
yeah.
day.
They never stop. That's great advice. Look, I'm going to toss out a few titles that sound intriguing from your table of contents.
Okay.
And you go ahead and give us the Reader's Digest version of some of these
Okay.
stories, okay? I've got a chainsaw.
My father and his very best friend, Dwayne, um, both attended the same church. It's the church I grew up in.
Uh-huh.
And it was a dark church in Evergreen, Colorado, no windows. And the preacher, Joe Simpson, just in an offhand remark one day said, I would love it if God's glorious light could shine in our building. And my dad and Dwayne said to each other, well, I've got a chainsaw. And they just went, picked up their chainsaw, came back to the church, and started sawing through the
No way.
sides of the walls.
Oh, no
And
way.
that and it happened within hours. It wasn't even something that was took a couple of days to figure out. No, that's just how my dad approached everything. And his friend Dwayne supported him just completely. So yeah, the chainsaw and the church today has beautiful windows. So there you
Oh,
go.
okay. Where they slashed it with the chainsaw?
Yes,
There you
yes.
go. How about a trip to the dump?
Um, I bought a house immediately after my mom passed away. It
Hmm.
was really designed from the get-go to be a project that my dad and I could do together to try and help both of us just handle my mom's passing.
Sure.
So I bought a house that was very old and needed a lot of work. And we proceeded over the course of 4 years to remodel all of it. But the the dump had to do with my one of my very dear friends, Amy, who helped us take all of the really rotten shingles that we had cleaned off the roof, 3 layers of them, and they were just in little tiny pieces.
Mhm.
They weren't big pieces of shingles anymore. So we just took shovels and put them in a moving van because we didn't have a truck big enough.
Yeah.
And my dad and my friend Amy and I drove that to the dump, and it just ended up being a really crazy experience because again, we didn't really handle it the way you should have
Mhm.
handled it. We
Mhm.
tried to handle everything free. My dad didn't want to spend money on anything. So because of that, it just always caused more problems. And the dump was one of them.
I like your dad. He seems to be in the middle of all these things.
Yeah, most people do.
Yeah. Rocks and socks. What's that all about?
Again, my
Your
my
dad.
dad, the socks comes first. Dad collected coins, any coin, and
Hmm.
he put it in a sock for my nieces and nephews. It was always a dirty sock. He never pulled a clean sock out of the drawer. It was always just some sock that was sitting on the floor, and he put change in it. And then when he saw his grandchildren, he would hand them these dirty socks. The next thing that happened was I decided that I wanted large rocks in my new backyard. And I said to my dad, how do you think I can get some really large rocks? And he said, no problem. I'll find you some rocks. And he did, he got a I don't know, some giant crane on I-70 in Colorado to dump giant rocks that were from a highway construction project into the back of his truck. He drove them to my house, and then he contacted me at work. I was an assistant principal at a high school in Littleton at the time. And he came and found me and said, come with me, we've got to unload these rocks. I said, Dad, I'm at work. He goes, no, you got to come now. And everyone just supported me. And I left and changed my clothes, and we got the rocks out of his back of his truck. And we couldn't even, like, they weren't rocks that you could pick up. He just pushed them with a crowbar to the edge and then had me gun the truck so that they would fall.
Oh, good. That sounds like something I'd do. Oh, yeah, I do like your dad. Well, listen, keep collecting those stories, and I want to see a sequel
Okay.
at some point because I'm sure that now that you've got grown kids of your own, you've got a whole batch of news stories, I'm sure. So keep it coming. And anybody out there, do the same thing. Keep track of your family history and write it down because not everybody's going to be around for, there's a really cool thing called Storyworth. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's
I have heard of it.
yeah,
It looks intriguing.
we did that with my mom the last year of her life. I mean, and she was not sick for a long time or anything, just for a very short time. But we started. She would answer a question. They would send her a question once a week or
Oh,
once a month, once a week. I can't remember what. And then, yeah, once a week. And then she would write the answer and send it in online. And you could make up your own questions and so on. And then we could add pictures. And then it came out after a year, it came out as a hardbound book.
no,
And it was
that's
wonderful because
lovely.
we did that last year, little knowing that the following year she would get terminal cancer and pass away after a short illness. So it's a precious thing to have. So that's along those same lines. I'm getting
Yeah.
off the subject. I want to talk about your book, which is called what is it called again?
We lost.
We lost my mom's ashes and messed up a few things along the way by Marta Smith. And so it's available on Amazon, and I'm sure it must be available somewhere else.
Yes, it's locally. We have two bookstores
Well, if you're out
here.
in Colorado, get
Yes.
out there. Thank you, Marta, for joining us today.
Thank you,
And
Paul.
good luck with the book. It sounds great.
Thank you.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it.
And thank you, folks, for spending a few minutes with us on the Global Book Network. I'm Paul Ryden. We'll see you next time.